Folks, I want to thank you too. Again, my name's Tom Lowry, and some disclaimers. I'm a fiduciary. I'm a fee-only advisor, so I'm a fiduciary, so I got to give some disclaimers. I am not a doctor. I play one on the radio. It's the retirement doctor. However, my goal when I was growing up was to be like my father. He was an emergency room doctor. So as I said, I had 6 sisters. We also have a brother, so there was 8 of us, and I was number 2 out of 8. Rosemary, by the way, is number 6 out of 8. So when I graduated high school, I didn't want my dad paying for my college, and I was told by an Army recruiter I could go out and serve my country and come back and have a GI Bill, and I could go to college and medical school, and it'd all be paid for. It'd always be wonderful. So I joined the military right out of high school, was in the 1st 75th Ranger Battalion, jumped out of airplanes, enjoyed my career there, but I found out shortly after joining there was no GI Bill. They did away with it back in, I joined in 1977, so there was a couple years that the recruiter gave me bad information and there was no GI Bill. So when I got out of the military, they had a college savings program. You had $7,500. I became a deep sea diver. And that's when I went and I dove in the North Sea as a deep sea diver for a couple of years, and I came back, and then starting in 1989 I've been in the financial services business. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm on WDUN out of Gainesville. And as I said, Rosemary, I've always said, Rosemary, if you'd ever move to Atlanta, I want to have you, because for 15 years she's helped clients here in the area. And so we're looking at maybe an idea of opening a Georgia Wealth Advisor's office here in Brunswick. But what I really want to do is maybe present this evening. I'm going to take about 30 to 45 minutes. What I hope everybody in here learns is more about Social Security than you've been ever able to find on their website, on how to file, on when to file, what spousal benefits are. So I'm going to give you a lot of information, and please, if you have questions as I'm going through it, you can stop and ask me. While I'm in town, one of the things we've developed is a Social Security maximization report. So if this makes sense to you, if you're trying to decide when and how to file, I'm going to be here for this week. It will just take me a little information to get from you. I'll be able to prepare a report for you and get it in your hands this week. So let me just get started and see if I have everything. Oh, by the way, the RFC stands for Registered Financial Consultant, and the CRPC, I'm a Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor. So I just help people make sure that your account balances don't go to 0 before your blood pressure does. We're office at the, if you know where the King and Queen building are, right on the perimeter in Atlanta. We're on the 31st floor of that King building. My sister just talked about the 5-Star Wealth Manager out of Atlanta magazine. So let me just kind of get into talking about Social Security. Well, everybody, how many folks in here have filed for Social Security? Or within, okay. What's the earliest age you can file?
62.
62. And I tell you what, I don't know if it's like this in Brunswick anywhere, but if you go to the Waffle Houses around Atlanta, you go there about 6 o'clock in the morning, you see all the guys with the colored hair like mine, the gray-haired guys, they're all solving all the world's problems. Walk over to them and say, hey, excuse me, what is the best time to file for Social Security? Guess what they're going to say? 62, 62, 62. Get it while the getting's good, because you don't know how long you live. You get. Well, I'm going to show you that is probably some of the worst advice you'll ever see, and that the difference in filing at the right time and filing at the wrong time for a married couple can mean over $100,000 in lifetime benefits. You know, if I ask you right now what's your most valuable asset right now, you might have $1 million in an IRA or a 401k. You might have $1 million home. But I can tell you, properly filing your Social Security benefits, you know, on a married couple, that could be $1 million in lifetime benefits. And you've paid into it just like you have in your 401ks and IRAs. So 62 is the earliest age you can file. I'm going to give you a couple terms you want to be familiar with. PIA, FRA, and then DRCs. So I'm going to talk about those, and those become very important to you here in a minute. So Let me show you the difference. Anybody recognize these folks as an example of the norms? Let's say Trixie, I have her at 56 and her PIA. So PIA, our first definition, stands for primary insurance amount. And Social Security calls that monthly check that you get when you get to your FRA, which is your full retirement age. So I'm going to talk about that. For most of you, it's age 66. For me, I was born in 1958. My full retirement age is 66 and 8 months. So I'm going to cover full retirement age here in a minute. But your full retirement age, it says when you hit your full retirement age, and it'll say 66, your monthly benefit is X number of dollars. That is called your primary insurance amount. It's an annuity payment. It's a lifetime payment. That's why they call it a primary insurance amount. So let's say Trixie worked at part-time at home, and her primary insurance amount is $900. Ed has $1,900. So we all know we can file at 62. We know our full retirement age is 66 or 66 and 8 months, for example, for me. What's the latest you would ever want to file for Social Security?
70.
Why?
More than doesn't grow any.
But because it doesn't increase. We're right, it maxes out at age 70. So let me just show you. If I took these two people, and another thing that Social Security does, and we look at is what your life expectancy is. And so on this example, if I have a 65-year-old male and female, 65-year-old male, his life expectancy is 80 years and 8 months. And the 65-year-old female is about 83 and 4 months, I think. Women live about 5 years longer than we do. But using those life expectancies for Ed and Trixie, I just looked at, based on their Social Security benefits that they both filed at age 62, and I apologize for the blue writing, but it's just under $500,000 that if they both filed at 62, collected their own benefits, they would collect about a little under $500,000. If they waited their full retirement age, received their full benefit, they'd get about $525,000. If they waited till age 70, they're actually going to collect $514,000 because Ed's not going to live long enough to have waited age 70 to collect the maximum just on his own record. However, if they filed for spousal benefits, that I'm going to talk about here in a minute, they would collect over $661,000, another $170,000 during their lifetime, having paid in the same dollar amount into Social Security, living the same time period, just by filing for Social Security properly. And that's why I think it's important enough. I appreciate your time out here. So obviously the important is, how do you maximize it? Where do you get advice from? Social Security can't tell you when to file. If any of you have called, they really can't tell you when to file. And they really don't know a lot about Social Security benefits. As my sister said, I've been fortunate in the last few years. I've been very involved in Social Security. I've been flown around, and I've had rooms of 200 financial advisors talking about, you might know asset allocation, but if you don't know how to maximize their Social Security, and they're counting on you to make an income stream for their nest egg now, you better maximize this benefit, because for every dollar of Social Security, that's one less dollar you have to pull out of your nest egg, right? And in that, we created a Social Security University, and we hired a Social Security trainer. He trains the people that you call Social Security and ask questions on. And we put together a software package between myself and about 35 other advisors. We have over $100,000 invested. We put this software together, and we had to make sure that it was following the Social Security rules and everything. There are windfall elimination provisions you need to worry about if you have government pensions or you have a government pension offset, a lot of different variables. You know, the guy training the people to answer your questions couldn't answer 4 questions we asked him. And just like the IRS will tell you 50% of the time their answers are wrong. I find the same thing with Social Security. So that's where I think you need to get good advice. So first of all, does anybody know, in order to even qualify for a Social Security check at all, how many credits do you need to have? 40. 40? What's a credit?
I think it's a quarter, like if I like January, February, March, is that considered a quarter?
Actually, what a quarter is about $4,100 of income. So, I'm sorry, so 4 quarters is $4,000 worth of income. So if you only make $4,000 a year, you do that for 10 years, that's 40 quarters, you're going to get a Social Security check. It'll be a very small one. Your PIA is based on how much you paid in to Social Security, but it's real confusing. A quarter is actually $1,200 of earned income. But you need 40 credits to qualify for Social Security. So now I'm going to talk about primary insurance amount, why you might consider filing soon or why you should wait till later. The impact of divorce for anybody that is married 10 years or longer in divorce, you actually have spousal benefits available if you're not remarried, and longevity. But I got to tell you, as you file for Social Security, you're going to find out as part of the new Dodd-Frank bill, you have to take a test every year after you get your first Social Security check. Every year you have to take a test, and you fail that test one time, guess what happens? They take away your Social Security check and they never give it back.
That's a lie.
It's important information. No, it's true, but it's it's a very simple test. Don't let me scare anybody. They hand you a mirror, and they ask you to excel. And if there's no fog on the mirror, they stop the check and they don't send any more. True story, I had some people at a library in Atlanta, and they came to me after the event. They said, you know what, we had an aunt that lived to 104 years old. And every year after her 100th birthday, somebody from Social Security would knock on the door and make sure this person was still alive. Isn't that crazy? So, yeah. So obviously the question is, when should you start taking? So now, as I mentioned, FRA is your full retirement age. So I talk to people that come into my office in Atlanta and say, yeah, I think at age 65 I'm going to take my Social Security and retire. I said, well, the last people that had their full Social Security benefit at 65 are now 75 years old, 1937. So if you look right here for folks 1943 to 54, your full retirement age is 66. If you're born in 1955, it goes to 66 and 2 months, then 66 and 4 months, up to 1960 and later, it's age 67. And so that's how your full retirement age. So for folks that are, most of the folks in here, I think are going to be at that age 66. So here is something I think Social Security could put on their website so easy and lets you know how your Social Security works more than anything you can do. So just give me a few minutes. So if I'm at my full retirement age at 66, or I'm 62 and I want to take my Social Security early, what happens to my benefit?
It's
Goes
less.
down.
How much? Do you know how much?
$900.
Well, yeah, not from your state. You get 75% of your benefit. So you just got a penalty of 25%. And remember, you get that for how long? As long as you can fog that mirror. So it's a lifetime benefit, and there have been cost of living adjustments ever since then. So this is a guaranteed lifetime income that comes to you every month, and it has a 2% cost of living. And you take it at 62, you're going to get a 25% penalty. But here's what you don't know. Say I'm 62 and I decide not to take it. I wait till age 63. What happens to my benefit? It actually rolls up at 6.25% per year, that between age 62 and my full retirement age. So if I wait just 1 year, I just got 6.25% more income for life. If I wait another one, I get another 6.25%. And if I wait another one, until age 66 when I get my full benefit. But now here's some magic in the sauce. Oh, let me show the graphics. These are incredible. See, as you can see it, 80, 87, 93, now you get 100%. So now let's say I'm 66, and sure, I want to retire, and I probably wanted to retire at 62, but do I want to take my Social Security now? Because guess what happens if I wait? Does anybody know what kind of roll-up I get after full retirement age? It's 8% a year, ladies and gentlemen. I get 8%, so if I wait till 67, it's 8% more. Until age 70, where it stops, and that's where I said I would get 132% of what I would have gotten at age 66. Now let me tell the guys out here, because the guys will say, well, Tom, I need to take it early because I'm not going to live long. And because men don't live as long as women. And you know why men don't live as long as women?
Women, they're married.
Because we, you know why we die before women? Because we want to. Don't say that in front of your wife at a party.
That's my girlfriend.
So for the guys out, the reason I want to mention that is whoever has a higher PIA, so for married couples, whoever has a higher of the two primary insurance amounts, usually 90% of the time it makes sense for you to delay. Because guess what happens? What happens if mom and dad have a Social Security check and dad dies? What does mom get to do?
Take dad's check.
Take the higher of the two. She's still going to lose it. If my Social Security is $2,000 when I stop fogging the mirror and my wife says $1,000, she's going to drop the $1,000 and pick up $2,000. Now I still left her, I need to have a plan to make up for that $1,000 she loses, and that's what a lot of plans I don't see even take into account when dad goes, what happens to mom and her income. But so that Social Security check, gentlemen, if yours is higher than your wife's, it's not just your lifetime it's going to be paying, it's yours and your wife's lifetime. So that's something to keep in mind. So there are 96 different months for all of us to file, and with spousal benefits, you're going to see there's a lot more to it. So it's, like Rosemary, you might remember, Catherine, what our mom used to always say, you know the difference between a lettuce, hit a nice juicy lettuce in a bag of garbage is? It's timing, right? You leave that lettuce in the refrigerator too long, it's a bag of garbage. So, so reasons why you may not necessarily want to wait and file for benefits would be, number one, if you're not healthy and you need to retire. By the way, I'm dressed like this because I left Atlanta, I was in an ER. Now, it's a different, that stands for emergency retirement. The guy was going to kill his boss if he didn't retire, so I had to help him retire, so that's just another doctor joke. If you're unhealthy and you need to retire, and that Social Security check's going to be enough, or you can manage to make it, it might make sense. But does anybody know can I make, if I file Social Security early, so I'm 62 to 66, if I file early, can I make all I want and still keep my Social Security?
No.
Do you know how it works? So what happens if I want to take Social Security at age 62, I have an income limit, it's just a little bit over $15,000. So and the way it works, if I make more than $15,000, then for every $2 above that, they're going to take $1 of my Social Security away. So let's say I'm working part-time, I make $30,000. That's $15,000 above that limit. They're going to take $7,500 away from my Social Security check until I stop making that money. And what they tell me is that when I hit my FRA, my full retirement age, they will reflect that in that PIA. However, they have never provided us with a formula on how they figure it, so I don't know how they figure bringing that back in. So now if I'm at my full retirement age, I can make all the money I want and they're not going to take any of that Social Security away from me. It's just about how much gets taxed. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. Everybody with me so far? Are you learning something about Social Security?
Okay, I don't want to take you off track,
Yeah, please don't.
but
Talk to me after the meeting. And if you're a retired school teacher, you have a WEP, a windfall elimination provision. By the way, 30 years in the school system down here.
34.
What a great, 34. Yeah.
But so if you are retired
Uh-huh.
and you're getting a pension,
Mhm.
and I know that windfall thing happens, but
Yeah.
does that pension count as part of that income?
Prior to, oh, you're talking about on Social Security, if you're taking it early.
If I decide to take Social Security at 62, I have a pension coming in, is that part of my?
No, the pension would not be part of that 15,000.
Okay.
In your case, pensions, the reason I'm talking is if you're, anybody retired school system or
Retired military.
retired military, this doesn't affect you because it doesn't affect the military pensions. It affects federal employees if they weren't paying into Social Security, not the military. But some school systems pay into Social Security and they receive a pension. Some school systems, they pay into Social Security and a pension, and so they get their full benefits. If you're receiving a pension where you did not pay into Social Security during that time of working, that's where the WEP or windfall elimination provision or if it's a government pension offset affects your return. But if we don't have too many folks, I won't cover those there. So the magic number on everything I talk about is your FRA, is age 66. So let me get into really the good stuff. Well, let's see, what do you know about Social Security? How many years do you have to be married to receive benefits from a spouse? 10 years. So here's what happens. If you're married 10 years or longer and you're not remarried, then you can receive up to 50% of your ex-spouse's primary insurance amount. Now, some of the things that are wrong with Social Security, if you know, Johnny Carson's long passed away, but he had 3 women collecting half of his Social Security because he had 3 women he was married to for 10 years or longer that weren't remarried. So we were paying 3 spousal benefits to Johnny Carson.
What if they get remarried?
If they're remarried, then their benefits would be based on their current spouse after 2 years of marriage. So you'd have spousal benefits with the current spouse. So you have to be married 10 years or more. So divorce, however, in talking to some folks, I'll talk about, they want to know, gosh, I'll have a divorced woman that's been divorced 20 years, comes in and wants to know what her Social Security. I find out she was married for 10 or 12 years. I said, well, you've got a whole lot more Social Security coming than you think if you haven't remarried. Something else that they don't put on the website that any adult disabled children, so you have a Down syndrome child, or you have any child that's receiving Social Security disability that's an adult, the adult disabled child benefit under Social Security is also 50% of your PIA. I have a Down syndrome boy that he's on Social Security disability. He gets all of $80 a month, and he's limited to 4 or 5 hours a month is all he can work at this bag company, folding paper bags. He just wants to work. Found out his dad turned 66, he's 21, 22. I said, look, guess what? You got $2,500, you got $1,250. You can drop his a disability check of $80, pick up $1,200, and he can work all he wants to so the boy works about 15, 20 hours a month now, and so there is and another thing that you may not be aware of, I call it a Viagra benefit. But that's because we have a lot of marriages where we have folks that are up in their years but might have some minor children. So if you're in your 60s and you have minor children, you actually have a family maximum. Those children under the age of 18 can receive half of your PIA up to a family maximum. So if you have any of those situations, I'm going to be here after this event's over to answer any questions that you guys have on it, but just some stuff I'm thinking about as. So now when I talk about lifetime benefits, is how much is that check going to be and how long are you going to fog the mirror? And what's real interesting, remember I talk about men living a few years less than women. Well, when I do a report, we just kind of show, because basically if I have your primary insurance amount and your date of birth, I can show you every single year what your benefits would be, how they will work together. But if I'm looking at a man who's not married, looking at it by himself, you look for what's the maximum time to retire. Because everybody says, I'm either going to take it at 62, at 66, or at 70. And none of them are the right time. For example, with man, this is kind of like a chart how the lifetime benefit. So if you see, if he took it at age 62, he's got about 400,000. If he waited age 70, he's going to collect the same amount because he's not going to have as much months to live. Well, if he's still going to have more income, it's about 67 and 4 months, because when I mentioned it rolls up at 6.25% before your full retirement age, 8% after that, it rolls up 1/12 of that every month. So there's every month you file, and I had a lady came into my office. She was 66 and 6 months old, and the Social Security lady decided this was before she came to an event. She said, "Yeah, I went at 66 and 6 months, and the Social Security." I said, "Oh, I got great news for you. We're going to start it on your birthday. You're going to get a check of 6 months up front." Well, guess what they did? She got a 4% reduction in what she should have gotten paid, because it should have been a 4% higher, but they just said, "Oh, well, we'll give you all these, we'll give you a nice check," and now they're going to pay her less for the rest of her life. Another thing you need to know is for folks who have filed, if you're thinking maybe I filed at the wrong time, you have 12 months after filing that you can change your mind. And if you change your mind, you pay back what you collected and the clock starts over again. After 12 months, there's no do-over. Oh, I was okay with that cough right there. I don't know if you guys read the USA Today. There was a guy that, I don't know to scare anybody, but he died of a cough like that. Did you guys read USA Today? It's okay, don't worry. Turns out he was in his neighbor's wife's closet at the time. I think you're okay. Please, not that either. Okay, this is a good question. Which vice president, our Social Security now, they told us when it first started, we never have to pay tax on it, right? We collected it, wouldn't be a taxable income. Well, anybody that knows it's collecting Social Security, up to 85% of your benefits can be added to your taxable income. And the Senate was split 50-50. It's one of the few times they had to bring a vice president out to cast a deciding vote to make sure 85% of our Social Security was subject to tax. Anybody remember that? Which vice president? Al Jazeera. I mean Al Gore. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why I call him Al Jazeera. Well, I do know why. Okay, some real important stuff. Is everybody learning something?
Yes.
Is this worthwhile? Okay. Survivor benefit, spousal benefit. I'm going to talk about file and suspend real quick, and a restricted application. So for married couples trying to figure out how long you're going to live and what's the break-even point, when do we file, just doesn't work out because you've got so many different options. So I'm going to give you some definitions. A retired worker benefit, so if my Social Security is $2,000 when I retire, that primary insurance amount, that's called a retired worker benefit. A spousal benefit. Now, watch this definition. Okay, so a spousal benefit. If your spouse has filed for benefit and you're at least 62 years old, you can file a restricted application and collect a spousal benefit up to 50% of their primary insurance amount if you file at the right time. So let me take you back to that retired worker benefit. Remember, if I take my benefit at 62, I get 75% of the benefit. If I want to take a spousal benefit and my spouse has already filed for their benefit, I get a bigger deduction. I get a 30% penalty. I only get 70% of that, and that benefit would roll up until my full retirement age. However, you have to be at least 62 and your spouse has had to file. Now, I want you to understand, because you can file for benefits and not collect now. And the only reason you would ever file your Social Security and not collect is if you want your spouse to collect a restricted application and get half of your primary insurance amount. That's the only reason you use file and suspend. So, and it allows the lower earning spouse to, it works both ways. File and suspend in a restricted application is just having, because guys, even if your benefits higher than your spouse, and your spouse or it might be a little bit older, or you can file a spousal benefit to receive half of theirs, and if you file it after your full retirement age, you can receive a spousal benefit while your benefit rolls up at 8% a year. So, like I said, and there's tens of thousands of, as I said, it's a big difference. So what I'm saying is, let's say my benefit is $2,000 and I get to my full retirement age. And my wife and I are the same age. She was born in April of '58 and I was August. So for 3 or 4 months she married a younger guy. However, when we go to file for benefits, when she hits her full retirement age, we're going to pass until I hit my full retirement age. Then I'm going to file a restricted application, because just to use these numbers, let's say my benefit's $2,000 and hers is $1,000. And if she filed for her benefit, she'd be locking in that $1,000. Well, because she's a few months apart, we're going to do a restricted application. She's still going to get $1,000 a month, but it's going to be 50% of mine. And because she waited till her FRA, her full retirement age, her $1,000 will roll up at 8% a year. So at age 70, she can drop the $1,000 spousal benefit and pick up $1,300. She just had a $300 raise at age 70. Meanwhile, I'm filing and suspending. So I'm not collecting anything off my benefit, and my $2,000 will roll up until it's $2,600 at age 70. And at that time, I will take it because I know my wife's going to live to her 90s. I live in a little town in Norcross. Our house was built in 1887 by a Civil War veteran. And I swear our neighbor must have known, well, they did know the family. She's been on that block for 92 years, Miss Budd. And that's on one side of me. The other side of me, her high school friend, Virginia Nesbitt, is 95 years old. And they both are out there exercising. We were just talking about my mother-in-law's 78. She was checking on the dogs for us while I was heading down here. And she locked her pocketbook in the house. And we've got this little kitchen window, vent window that we'll keep open. And she crawled through that little bitty window at 78 years old. And it's incredible. Our longevity, we're living a lot longer. So, a widow or widower can receive a benefit. If you lose a spouse early in life, you can receive a widow or widower benefit at age 60. Questions so far? Are you learning something? Everybody's quiet.
If a widow, sorry,
Yeah.
a widow,
Uh-huh.
60 years old, still working, she receives his Social Security, how does it impact her income?
Okay, well, first of all, at 60, it's going to be a reduced primary insurance amount, and she's going to have some income limits on it. Many times I find at age 60, if they're working and they have a good income, they can wait, because guess what? At their full retirement age, they can get the full primary insurance amount. And they can take that as a survivor benefit, and if their benefit gets above that later on for the 8% roll-up, then they can drop that one and pick up the higher one. So a lot of times when I see, while they do allow it at age 60, sometimes it might destroy you long-term if you take the widow benefit and not wait till later, because you'll get the full.
Divorcee receiving disability,
Social Security
Social
disability?
Security disability, over 20 years married to the ex. He starts receiving his benefits at 65, she can receive half benefit from him.
She can read, now she can't receive, disability is a whole different animal.
Can't
But
receive both.
right, she can't receive, but if the spousal benefit, 50% of his at full retirement is higher than the Social Security, she can drop that and pick up
And he doesn't have to permit that.
He doesn't have to permit that. And usually, remember, if you're married, and I say in order to get a spousal benefit, your spouse have had to file. If you're divorced, it doesn't work that. As long as you're at that age, and what you have to do, the proof you have to have is a marriage certificate and a divorce decree, maybe a tax return. That's what they need to see to know that you've been married 10 years. Then yes, she could receive that. Yeah.
A question.
Yes.
If you're 62, have not reached the full retirement age, you're still working, your spouse is on disability, the disability is less than what you would be entitled to at 62, can you file and delay
You
yours,
can,
and can your spouse?
I see what you're saying. You can't file and suspend until you hit your full retirement age.
Okay,
However, you could hit your full retirement age, and say if you're 66 and your wife is 62, and you're getting $2,000 Social Security, because it's early, she's going to get $700. If that $700 is higher than the SSI, then she can drop the SSI and pick up the $700.
and you would have to wait until sometime between 66 and 70 to get,
To get if you, yeah.
to get yours. Okay.
All right. So I want to talk about taxes on Social Security real quick. As I said, that once you've hit your full retirement age, take away no Social Security. It's just what your adjusted gross income, how much of that Social Security is added to your taxable income. And if you're a married couple and you make less than $32,000, additional money. Now that would be IRA distributions, that would be any wages if you're working part-time. That would be, and in this case, it's not just W-2 income, so it's any kind of income. It's interest income, it's if you have municipal bonds, even though they're free of federal tax, they're added to your, what's called your, your MAGI, your modified adjusted gross income, so you have to, they add that together. So but if it's under 32,000, none of your Social Security is added to taxes. If you're between 32 and 44,000 as a married couple, or 25 to 34 single, 50% of that benefit is added to Social Security. And if you make more than 44,000 as a married couple, or 34,000 single, 85% of that. So a lot of times, as you're looking at that, you want to look and see what is my taxable income. Can I defer some of this income and reduce my taxes in retirement? A lot of times you can save a lot of money in taxes if you like to do that. Here's one thing I'll tell you that we probably don't have enough in planning, and if I have the opportunity to visit with any folks while I'm in town, it'd be great. One of the things I don't see is some staggering numbers. About 70% of all elderly people living below the poverty line are women. And over half of them weren't below that level until the death of their spouse. And so, because here's what happens. Let's say we got Ed and Trixie here. Ed's got a pension of $14,400. He decided to take the life-only pension at work. So he says, okay, I'll get that for the rest of my life. And then he maxes out his Social Security. So he waited age 70, so he's got a nice $30,000 a year Social Security check. Trixie has a small little pension of $6,000, and she's got about $7,700 in Social Security benefits. They have a few assets, and then what happens is Ed stops fogging a mirror. So he loses his pension, or she loses his pension and her Social Security. So they went from $58,000 a year income to $36,000. And he didn't have anything in place. There was no other option. So now she's living off $36,000 a year instead of $58,000. If that's a concern for you, there's a lot of different things you can do. You buy a small life insurance policy that'll take you to there. You can put in there a new what are called guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefits. There's guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefits. It allows you to put away money, and it guarantees to compound over a period of time. And then based on what age you turn it on, it gives you a guaranteed lifetime. And if you die, the family still keeps your money. So there's ways to protect against that lost income. As I said, I have with just a little information. We're going to break here. If you folks don't have any questions, if you want to ask me personal questions in there, Yeah, here, yeah.
All right. Yes,
I have a little sheet here, just so if you'd like to, it looks like a prescription card. There's some questions about Social Security on the back. If you just let me know your name, email, and phone number, and you would like to get a report while I'm here, we'll just figure out some way. I'm staying here for the week. The report is about a 13-page report. It'll show you all your different options. It'll show you the way to maximize it, but it'll give you all your different options. It'll actually give you your annual income jointly if you follow it on what it is. And it tells you the exact month and year you should file. You guys are welcome to look at this after this. This is an example of a file and suspend, where the guy files and suspends taking payments, and both their benefits roll up, and then they take them both at age 70. So it gives an increase. It'll show you how to do that. But if, other than that, if any other questions, this has been kind of fun.
Is an insurance benefit a taxable income?
Life insurance proceeds are tax-free, which is, so in other words, if you set aside $100,000, or, and one of the reports I can show is when it shows that missing gap, it'll show you different options that you can use to cover that, be it a life insurance policy, because those are tax-free benefits. So no, they're non-taxable. Anything else?
The 15,000 that you're allowed to make, income for, what all goes into that figure?
That is W-2 or earned income. So either if you're self-employed getting 1099, or you're making W-2 income, so it's earned income. So your interest income isn't counted. If you pull money out of your IRA, that's not included. If you receive a pension, that's not included. It's just earned income. It's going out
Sell
and
your
work.
business?
Huh?
Sell your business?
Sell your business, those are going to be capital gains proceeds. So, you know, if you're selling your business, I would probably wait till, you know, maybe not, if you're taking Social Security down, you're thinking about selling, I would get good tax and legal advice. So I talked to a good CPA. I'm meeting with one down here tomorrow. Because you got to get CPAs, you got to know the right things, because, you know, it's knowing the right tax rules. Folks, it's been a pleasure. I tell you what, I'm going to be here with my sister Rosemary. As I said, I just need a little information. I'll be happy to run a report. Anybody that wants one of my prescription for a happy retirement, I'd be happy to give you one of those. I think we have enough here. What I'd ask is that if you like it, you'd go on to Amazon. You can buy them at $11 or something on Amazon. But if you write some nice comments, even if you don't, I'll give you a book. Well, thanks, folks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
What she's handing out right now, by the way, this is telling you